It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso right here on SABC3 Relationship Monday, everyone. Now, this is a phrase heard often if you ever had indulged in watching reality TV competitions. I didn't come here to make friends. Okay. Now, some people have the same philosophy when it comes to making friends and socializing in the workplace. Although, who better to make friends with than the people that understand exactly what you do on a daily basis and, of course, who you spend the most time with during the day?
Absolutely. I mean, like, things can, however, become extremely complicated if you get too close with a colleague. I'm very close with Leanne. It's not complicated yet, but we'll see. And experience a fallout with them. Who knows what could happen? But making working together a difficult experience, especially when the complications come up. So is it healthy to make friends, get close and socialize with your colleagues on a regular basis? I mean, our relationship expert, Dr. Eve, is in the building to engage with you on this topic. So please feel free, call in 021 430 9881 if you have any questions or comments. Dr. Eve, welcome to Expresso.
Hello, Carl.
Wow, it's complicated, isn't it? Just, I mean, these are people that you spend so many hours with on each day, and you don't really sort of credit that. I mean, it's a 9 to 5, 8 to 5. It's your colleague, so that's the big question: is it healthy to fraternize and socialize with your colleagues?
I want us to just be clear to our viewers that we're not talking about sexual and emotional relationships, because we've done that, and we're going to take a different angle today, where we're talking about just colleagues, just friends that we meet in the workplace. So first thing I do want to say as a baseline is that in order for us to be really optimally happy, we need social interaction. We know that is what the brain loves, that is what people love. We seek it out, we want to connect with people. So in a work environment, it's really a healthy thing to make friends. We're drawn to it. We want to have those social interactions. It makes us happy, and when we're happier, we're way more productive in a work environment. There are complexities. There are, as you were saying, there are differences between friends that you have in a work environment and friends that you have just in a social environment. There's almost like more to risk by being friends with somebody in a social environment. You can become quite suspicious and paranoid about what this person's intentions are. Yet it's a double bind, because that's where you're going to be meeting people, because that's where you spend most of your time. So how do you deal with things like potential abuse of authority? If you've got your friend happens to be on the same level as you and then gets promoted, or somebody gets demoted, how do you deal with that potential abuse of authority? How do you deal with favoritism? If your friend does have perks or does have an opportunity to be promoted up, how do you deal with that? And then also just possible online harassment that happens, harassment that can happen between friends. And then also conflict of interest. Whose interest do you serve if you are friends with somebody and you know, for example, you're in HR and you know that this person's job might be at risk? Do you serve the company or do you serve your friend's interest? Who do you betray? So there are like a lot of conundrums that go down in a work environment when you are friends with somebody. And one has to really consider, how do I manage this? And we'll talk about, healthy ways to really manage this situation.
Yeah, because that's what I want to get into. What are the boundaries that you should set, especially when you walk into a new workspace? I know a lot of people, you work a full day together and then they want to go for after-work drinks and you share personal information, you share so much about yourself. So we're going to chat more about that in a little bit. But is it healthy to make friends, get close and socialize with your colleagues on a regular basis? That's what we're talking about this morning. Call us on 021 430 9881, and our relationship expert, Dr. Eve, will engage with you and your questions and comments.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
So we're back with our relationship expert, Dr. Eve, and we're discussing whether there should be boundaries regarding how close you get to your colleagues. Now, if you have any questions or comments on this topic, then please do call us on 021 430 9881, and we will engage with you.
Talking about engaging, let's go for this question over here, because you set the scene so beautifully with regard to colleagues and friendships though. So what are some of the positives of having an office friendship and some of the negatives of having those colleagues as your friends in the office?
Advantages are that you get to spend time talking about work, and let's be honest, people want to talk about work. When you get home, and one of the complaints that I hear in my therapy room, from couples, is that he or she really doesn't understand me. Or when I get back home, I don't want to be talking about work anymore. So here is somebody who really understands me in a work environment, which also makes us really vulnerable to, obviously, to infidelity, because you feel so close to that person. So advantages is here's somebody where you really feel this person gets me. So immediately your happiness quotient goes really right up because you feel happier, and again we come back to being productive. So that's the advantage of it. You feel like you have somebody who's watching your back in a work environment. So you're feeling happier most of the time when you've got this friend that you can talk to. The disadvantages is like, what happens to the rest of your team? Because they're afraid that there is gossip situation going down. So you two are friends and I'm your colleague, and like I'm like now scared to talk to Leanne about something because she may talk to you about what I've told her. So there could be breeding a sense of distrust in that environment, because how much can I be talking to her because she's, I'm not really safe with her. So there's a gossip situation which can happen, which isn't really advantageous as well. And also, who am I going to choose? If Leanne is your friend and we put together in a work project, she's going to choose you to work with all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm going to feel like kind of excluded, and I don't get the opportunities because, you're her BFF. And so that's not really a positive thing to be having in a work environment.
Exactly.
Advantage is that obviously you can further your career if you're going to be strategic. You
This
can
is-
choose a friend and further your career.
Yeah. Is it a good idea to be spending so much time with someone outside of work? Because let's be
Yeah.
honest, you spend up to 8 hours a day minimum with this person. Then you guys go for drinks afterwards. You're like, oh, let's go get a quick dinner.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a weekend hangout as well, shopping and all of those things.
Exactly.
How does that actually just, influence your office relationship?
I mean, just imagine having your best friend at work all the time. You just like really want to share all your stuff with this person. That can be very distracting to your productivity at work. And at the end of the day, what we're most concerned with is productivity at work. What is going to enhance your productivity at work? And having your best friend there might be so distracting that you're not talking about what you should be talking about, but focusing more on your interpersonal life.
Yeah. Well, when we come back after this, I want to talk about bringing money into the equation. What happens when you bring money into that equation? All that more coming up on your Feel Good Breakfast Show. Please do give us a call, 021-430-9881. Dr. Eve is standing by.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back to your Feel Good Breakfast Show. It's Expresso right here on SABC3. And we're back with our relationship expert, Dr. Eve. And we're discussing whether there should be boundaries regarding how close you get with your colleagues. Now, if you have any questions or comments, please do give us a call on 021-430-9881. Dr. Eve, we actually got a caller in the break, Almond, like the nut, Almond, and who said that he's actually got a positive story that he had two colleagues and they worked together, but they kept the boundaries. So they would hang out socially afterwards, they'd go to sporting events, but when it came to the working context, they knew how to keep it professional and how to keep focused, which is really wonderful. That's what it comes down to, right? Boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. It always comes down to boundaries.
Yeah.
So you want to choose your friend at work with somebody who can maintain boundaries, where you know that this doesn't make me feel comfortable anymore, and you're able to put your boundary in and say, actually, I don't want to be hearing anything more about what's going on at home. Let's just talk about work situations.
Because it's nice
Hard
at the end
to
of
do.
a hard work day to be able to go out and be like, "Whew, guys, let's just have a itziki,
Absolutely.
a knatzi, and then
Absolutely.
move on with the rest of life."
Absolutely.
But let's talk about what happens when you bring money into the equation. When I am now saying, no, don't worry, I'll pay for lunch.
Ouch.
Or I'll pay for dinner. But all of a sudden, you are the only one doing it. And the other person starts feeling like, whoa, what's going on? Like I'm the constant one giving. Or maybe you have a colleague who now feels so comfortable with you that they can borrow money from you because maybe they're struggling financially.
Absolutely. My toes begin to curl as you say that, Leanne's like, oh, no, please don't do that. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be doing that in any friendship, right?
Exactly.
But in that environment, and maybe also, when somebody knows that you're earning less than what the other person is earning in the thing, they might feel, well, let me help them out, or just being kind. The rescuer in us comes out and says, okay, this is just for this month and I'll pay you back when I get some money. Don't do that. It becomes so entangling that it messes up with any potential neutrality that you can have in a relationship.
Yeah.
You really don't want to be blending money in or borrowing money from each other.
Money really does change relationships.
Money
hey?
messes
Even
up
if it's like,
relationships.
can you borrow me 100 Rand? I'll give it back to you
Yeah.
tomorrow. Come tomorrow, I'm like, where my money? If I didn't get
and
it,
it's
kind
so
of thing.
difficult. It's so difficult to be asking for that back.
Exactly.
And that, I'm always going to come back to your effectiveness in work environment. That's going to bring tension into you and into that relationship, strain into that relationship. We can never forget that we can begin to converse with people online. So even if face-to-face, you're having a great conversation, but online they could be harassing you, saying, where's my money? I want my money, do something about this. I also want people to be really aware of what are the policies and the environment in which they work, because every company does have policies we know around harassment, because that is something that everybody has to have, but also around making friends at work and hanging out at work, because be really careful. I'm just thinking of a client of mine. You've got to be really careful about the communication that you have with your colleague online, because that can be scrutinized by a big boss who's sitting somewhere in your IT department and watching this. They may interpret it as something more than what it is. Or if you're going to again gossip about your boss or somebody to your best friend online, just be very aware that everything can be seen, can be surveilled and monitored.
Yeah. Let's say you're somebody that's gone through quite a hectic past, you know, that kind of informs certain behaviors that you have now. Should you be sharing really personal information, like, you know, maybe a problem with alcohol in the past, marital problems, all of those things? We will come back after the break as Dr. Eve delves into that question.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Well, we're back with our relationship expert, Dr. Eve. We actually got a really interesting call on the line, and I hope I'm getting the story correct. Dr. Eve, this person called us, said that he's got a really great relationship with his colleagues in the office, one in particular. Such a good relationship that this colleague has come to say to him that he's having a relationship with his boss. Of a sexual nature, but also is now sharing the nudes that the boss has sent to him with everybody else. And he's in a bit of a conundrum. Do I go to my colleague and friend and tell this person, this is unethical, but how do I do it? Because we're friends. It's, you know, the bromance. I gotta keep my bro's confidence kind of thing. What do you do in a situation like that?
Oh, this is so unsettling.
It is.
It's very unsettling, because this, I guess, totally, I mean, thank you for calling in with that, because that really highlights the difficulties that can happen in friendships in a workplace environment,
100%.
where you are privy to what friends talk about, like cheating, and then you have this information, but it doesn't sit comfortably with him. And he's realizing that it could compromise his own position. After all, we're really selfish, and we need to be selfish in a work environment. He's got to protect himself, Leanne, and now he has this information, and he's sitting with a secret, and he's got to work and look at his boss, knowing what's happening to his or her photos that his friend is distributing. So I would say you have got to talk to your friend face to face and say, you are putting me in a difficult position by getting me to be the one who holds the secrets for you, and you're crossing a boundary here. I don't feel comfortable with it, because he could be at risk as well of losing his job, especially if it's found out that he knows about it and didn't do anything about it. And at the end of the day, he's got to feed himself and his family. Can you take a risk like that?
It's so crazy. It would be so
It's
much
so
easier
difficult.
if we just, you know, got to work and did our jobs and didn't socialize and things like that. But we're human beings. We love to be able to be social with one another. When it comes to situations like crossing the line and, you know, your colleagues, your friends, and all of a sudden somebody starts being inappropriate, starts being harassing because now they think that they can. How do you deal with situations
And I
like
guess
that?
harassing, which you spoke about just now as well, in terms of money, of boundaries. Or I recently had a situation where somebody asked me for sponsorship, and I felt like really offended by that, like you're crossing a boundary.
Exactly.
You're kind of wanting to capitalize on something that I have. It's very uncomfortable. So you are the one who has to set their own boundaries. It's like, just by indicating, you can't start out and say, well, I'm not willing to talk to you about your private life, but just your attitude and the way that you are presenting yourself to this person, your friend, colleague, lets them know that actually I'm not really interested in what happened last night in your bedroom. I'm not really interested in what you're doing in other people's bedrooms, or I'm not really interested if you're stealing money from the company, or if you're not managing to come out at the end of the month. So it's almost like sanitized conversations that you have to have with this person. And you all the time have to work out, whose need am I serving? Am I serving the need of me for a friend because I feel friendless and lonely, or am I serving the need of the company? And you're going to be torn in that dilemma. So I hope that you know you're a healthy individual who has friends outside of the company as well, and can see your friend in the company as something, you know, contained. And then I'm going to contradict myself and say, as you said just now, we make friends in our companies. We make friends in our working environment because we like them, because we do the same thing. So obviously we have a lot of interests in common. It just has to be discussed. When these dilemmas come up, say, like, I'm not comfortable with this. I'm feeling torn. I'm not feeling, you know, that I am able to hold the secret, because you have to look after yourself.
Absolutely. Well, there we go. Thank you so much,
Yes.
Dr. E, for being here. I hope if you are at home and you're watching this and you feel like you needed those insights, hopefully we've assisted you with regards to relationships
Yes.
that have crossed that line to being social outside of the office.